Welcome to the Musical Undertones. I am your host, Mambo, and today we're going to talk about K-pop's global rise and its uncomfortable relationship with race. Okay? Now, K-pop has become one of the most powerful cultural exports of the 21st century. Whether it's from sold-out world tours dominating the global charts, the industry has successfully transcended language and geography. Yet beneath the polished visuals, synchronized choreography, and carefully curated personas lies a recurring and often uncomfortable issue: racism. In particular, anti blackness embedded in both performance and perception. This isn't a new conversation. Over the years, numerous idols and entertainment companies have been called out for cultural appropriation, the use of black aesthetics without context, and at times outright racist behavior, from wearing traditionally black hairstyles like cornrows and dreadlocks as concepts, to using blackface in variety shows, to casually dropping racial slurs in songs or covers. The pattern is quite difficult to ignore. Many of the K-pop groups have been entangled in racist controversies, but of those, we're going to start with the most common one. Kiss of Life. Kiss of Life debuted in 2023 of July under the S2 Entertainment with their mini album Kiss of Life and the title track Shh. The group consisted of four main artists: Julie, Nati, Bella, and Hanu, who quickly stood out not only for their artistry but for their vocals, the mature concept, and the strong live performances. A unique part of their debut rollout was that each member released solo songs and story films, building a narrative around identity and independence. This storyline approach, combined with their R&B and hip-hop influence, helped them gain international attention early on. Despite coming from a smaller company, they were often praised as the dark horse rookie group, not initially expected to dominate, but steadily gaining recognition. In April, the group went on a live to celebrate Julie's birthday. What was meant to be a fan-themed broadcast quickly turned into something much worse, or much serious. The concept, old school hip-hop, but instead of simply celebrating the genre, the execution crossed the line. The members appeared wearing cornrows and bantu knot, oversized chains, and styled themselves in a way many viewers thought reduced black culture to only but a costume, with one of the members even going as far as naming herself Little Taco Bell. It didn't stop there though. During the live, they used exaggerated accents and slangs associated with black culture, even taking on personas that came across as stereotypical. Almost immediately, clips began to circulate online. The backlash was fast and loud. For many, especially black fans, this wasn't just K-pop mistake. It was a mockery, not appreciation, not influence, a mockery. That's where the deep issues arise. K-pop as an industry is built on the foundation of black music. Hip-hop, R&B, blues, jazz, rap. These genres aren't just sounds or aesthetics. They come from real histories, real struggles, real communities, and real stories. So when those elements are used without understanding and words turned into exaggerated characters, it hits different. The live stream was immediately deleted. Kiss of Life issued apologies saying they had taken the concept too far and didn't fully understand the impact. But for many fans, the apology didn't go far enough. It didn't acknowledge why they did what they did and why it is harmful to an audience. Stray Kids. Now, when it comes to Stray Kids, several moments have sparked ongoing conversations about racism and their cultural insensitivity. Let's start with Han Jin-soo. Before his debut, an odd rap he wrote as a teenager resurfaced online. In it, he used explicit racial slurs and offensive language targeting black people, as well as lyrics that mocked foreign workers. The backlash was immediate. Fans were shocked not just because of the words themselves, but because of how direct and harmful they were. Later, Han apologized, explaining that he wrote those words when he was young and ignorant, and that he deeply regretted it. For some fans, the apology showed growth, but for others, it raised a bigger question. How does one engage so deeply with hip-hop culture whilst still expressing anti-blackness? And did he really change? Or was he just reacting to the backlash he encountered? And then there's Bang Chan. Bang Chan over the years has been seen wearing cornrows, a hairstyle with deep cultural and historical significance in black communities. While it may seem like a styling choice on the surface, many fans pointed out that this reflects a larger pattern in K-pop, using black aesthetics without understanding their cultural meaning. Cornrows aren't just a change, you see. They carry history connected to identity, resistance, and culture. So when idols wear them as part of a concept, it can often feel less like appreciation and more like appropriation. And lastly, Yoonjin. One of the most talked about incidents happened around mid-2020 during the episode of Finding Stray Kids. The members were dressed up in exaggerated ways to make each other laugh. In the episode, Yoonjin was dressed as Go Yue, a character from a Korean cartoon Ran Hani. The character itself is meant to be a comedic parody of a loud middle-aged Ajuma or a woman, but the portrayal sparked controversy. To mimic the character, Yoonjin wore a curly wig and exaggerated red lips. While this may have been intended to match the cartoon design, many international fans felt the look closely resembled blackface imagery in the minstrel shows and the black caricature cartoons of old, particularly the emphasis on thick lips and textured hair, which have historically been used in racist caricatures of black people. This is where the debate really sits. Some argue there was no intent to mock black people and that he was simply portraying a Korean character. Others pointed out that the intent doesn't erase impact, especially when the imagery overlaps with globally recognized racist stereotypes. Individually, each of these incidents may be explained away, whether it's youth, ignorance, or or a lack of culture awareness by others. But together they start to form a pattern, one that reflects a broader issue within K-pop itself. BLACKPINK. Now, before their debut, training videos had surfaced online showing members covering songs in raps. Members like Lisa, Jennie, and Rose openly using racial slurs and while singing to tracks. Fans quickly pointed out the issue, questioning how such language could be repeated so casually, even in training environments. Some defended it as ignorance, trainees mimicking songs without understanding the weight of the words. Others weren't convinced because at some point repetition without awareness becomes its own kind of problem. MAMAMOO. In 2017, during a concert, the group performed a parody of Uptown Funk, but instead of just recreating the song, they appeared in blackface, darkened skin, costumes meant to imitate Bruno Mars and his dancers. The reaction was immediate and intense. MAMAMOO later apologized, saying they didn't understand the historical weight of blackface. They removed the performance and promised to educate themselves. But for many fans, especially black fans, the damage was already done. BTS. Now, we cannot talk about racism in K-pop without lastly adding on to one of the largest boy band groups of K-pop, that is BTS. And BTS controversies are usually centered on one main individual, RM, or the leader of the group. One of the most widely discussed incidents dates back to 2015. During an interview, RM made a comment about fellow members V and J-Hope, saying he couldn't see them because they were too black. The remarks quickly drew backlash from international fans who viewed it as colorist and racially insensitive. At the time, the reaction was intense enough that it reportedly led to security concerns during the activities abroad. But that wasn't the only point of criticism. In BTS earlier years, RM was also called out for using what most people described as the black accent or the black accent, a way of speaking that mimics African American vernacular English, combined with the styling choices like cornrows. These moments added to concerns about cultural appropriation and the way black culture was being performed rather than understood. And this is where the conversation becomes more complex, because RM wasn't alone in this. He was a part of a wider K-pop system that heavily draws from the hip-hop and black culture. Fans began to question, where is the line between influence and imitation? At the core of the issue is a contradiction. K-pop is deeply influenced by black culture, yet often fails to acknowledge or respect it. The genre itself draws heavily from hip-hop, R&B, rap, jazz, blues, soul music, and is created and shaped by black artists. The training systems, the musical structures, and even the styling borrow from African American cultural expression. However, this influence is frequently stripped of its historical and social context, repackaged and thought globally without proper credit. This raises a critical question. How can an industry benefit so heavily from a culture while remaining disconnected or worse, dismissive of the people behind it? Part of the answer lies in South Korea's relative cultural homogeneity and historically limited exposure to racial diversity. For many idols, especially those who are trained from a young age, their understanding of race is shaped within a system that prioritizes performance over critical cultural awareness. However, as K-pop positions itself as a global industry, the expectation must shift. You cannot market to an international audience, in particular one that includes large black fan bases, while ignoring the cultural sensitivities that come with it. Global success demands global accountability. Another layer to this issue is the role of fans. International fans, especially black fans, often find themselves in a complicated position, loving the music and the artist while feeling hate or disrespected by their actions. While controversies arise, fan communities can become largely divided. with some defending idols unconditionally and others calling out for accountability. The tension reflects the broader struggle. How do you hold artists accountable without completely disregarding the art? Encouragingly, there have been moments of growth. Some idols and companies have issued apologies, removed offensive context, and even some are willing to learn. While the responses are not always perfect and sometimes feel performative, they integrate a gradual awareness that wasn't visible a decade ago. Still, apologies alone are not enough. What's needed is a structural change, cultural education within training systems, diverse creative teams, and the genuine effort to engage with the origins of the art they are producing. Respect should not be reactive, it should be foundational. K-pop's influence is only growing. With the growth comes responsibility. The industry stands at a crossroads. It can continue to repeat the same mistake, or it can evolve into a space that only celebrates global culture and also respects it. Because of the end of the day, appreciation without understanding is shallow, and without results or without respect, it simply becomes exploitation.